to Nasty Knuckles, the Hockey Outlaws podcast, with your hosts, Derek, Nasty, Settlemyre, and former Philadelphia Flyer enforcer, Riley, Cote, as they go behind the scenes with your favorite NHL players. This week's guest is two-time Stanley Cup champion and Olympic gold medalist, and one hell of a hockey player, Mike Richards. Time to face off.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Nasty Knuckles. What's going on, Nast?
Not much, Riggs. What's shaking, my man?
A little bit of yoga teacher training this weekend. I ended up missing my daughter's first ever hockey tournament for it.
Dude,
lost on that.
Well, why didn't you just take a mat to the rink and do it right there in front of everyone?
Too many distractions, man. But it was one of those things I had
God.
signed up for before the tournament was added to the calendar, and it was a sacrifice I had to make. But she loved it. It was a great experience. But
I heard she was on the sheet there with a couple knuckling it up a little bit.
She got hands like daddy. She got hands like daddy. That's for sure.
Kidding. How'd she do? Did she like it though?
She loves it. Yeah, she definitely loves it. She just loves getting it out there and having fun with her friends. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's exercise. It keeps them engaged in the team. So it's been good so far. It's early. She's only been playing for 3 months or so. Put her in the Learn to Play program through the Flyers there, NHL, and she graduated through that. And all of a sudden, she's on a team playing half ice hockey within the next couple weeks. So it's been fun so far. Get me back around the rink. It's been good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's awesome. I heard she just runs around like an absolute maniac. I love it.
Oh yeah, she does. Yeah. When I first started giving her a little advice about trying to knock people off the puck, she started blowing up her own teammates. So she was floating around and just blowing kids up. I'm like, Ken's, you gotta hit the other team, not your own teammates. So she's getting the hang of it now, and it's fun to watch, just like anything else. Like you just get the reps, and every time she's out there, she gets better. But it's fun to watch. We're gonna get me back to the rink and engage back in the community of hockey. So it's been fun.
Yeah, at Elvis's games, I swear I see more big hits, unintentional. But these kids, they just have their heads down and they're just going 100 mile an hour and just boom. Ow. And somehow they're not getting conkies. I don't know what's going on, but it's crazy the amount of contact that's accidental for real.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. It sucks you missed her first, but there'll be plenty more to go to.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Yep.
I was in Arizona this past week
baby,
for a golf thing. Yeah. And I was so excited to get out of this weather, and I get on a plane with my buddy Grant Garcia. He was the one that took me. It was something for Jeremy Roenick. It's this group of people that they have this whole golf community, and they go all over the place. And JR was unfortunately not able to be there. His dad passed away, so we missed JR. But anyway, I was so excited to go, getting some sun, get there. 55 degrees.
Oh, of course, right? That would happen.
No, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It actually got up to 62, which did feel when you were out in the sun like it was a bit warmer. But anyway, a great weekend, man. Got to play 4 rounds of golf and had a little bit of fun in Scottsdale. So that was that.
Good stuff.
So yeah, man, it was fun. It was fun. Let's talk a little bit about hockey here, boys. Fly boys back on a little bit of a roll
track.
Here.
Yeah, right. Like every other
we screwed them up the first time.
I know. Yeah, they're back on track. I still think they can play better, especially a couple of those games where they're struggling to generate offense, but they're finding ways to win. Obviously, the goaltending has been key there to pull out a couple of those wins, but nonetheless. Back to where they say they should be, back at the top of the division there, and a little shakeup too. I mean, having to sit Konechny, I'm sure they don't want to do that, but I think I read he had, one shot in 3 games, and obviously he's a he's a feisty guy. He should be putting up, more offensive chances than that. So, that stuff happens, right? You're a young guy and message sending, right? I mean, it's early in the season. We got to get him going. He's a huge part of the team. So I think it was a good move. Every player should have that happen to them at some point. I certainly don't think it was unnecessary. I think it was the right move.
Yeah, TK is a pro. He gets it. I'm sure he didn't hang his head or have the lip going. He just probably worked his ass off, knowing him, and that's just part of the way he plays. Like you said, he is a very, very feisty guy, and he definitely can bring more to the lineup. I mean, he even brings. He's not a big guy, as you know, but he sure as hell brings some physicality to the game. He is obviously not a big body, but he can shoot, he can skate, he plays physical. He gets his nose in there, gets dirty a little bit, causes some shit, which I love about him.
Yep.
But yeah, I bet you he starts lighting it up here with that happening. No one wants that to happen. Obviously, Riles, you played, I've seen so many guys get scratched. They're, it's not fun. It's not what you want to play. You're a player. So hopefully that's AV made the right move there and TK gets it going a little bit.
Yeah. Normally guys respond very well to that, right? Like say most guys are pros with it. They understand why. Got to learn from it. And then the only thing you can really do is come back stronger, right? I mean, the worst thing you could do is have that, pouty lip and come back with an attitude. You're not going to last very long. So knowing TK, him better than I do, but I expect nothing but piss and vinegar, moving forward, and that probably will never happen again. But other guys have stepped up, right? I mean, you got JVR stepping up, Farabee stepping up, Lots stepping up. And then obviously the combo of goaltending, having Moose come back in there and win games is huge. So finding ways to win. I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, patching holes, guys stepping in and doing a good job. So, I mean, I think the Flyers are going to be this competitive, if not even more competitive going forward. I think I don't think they still really found their, full on, vibe yet. I think they're a little bit inconsistent yet, but nonetheless, to be at the top of the division, being inconsistent and, having a couple of holes here and there is certainly a good sign. So,
yeah, I mean, to me, you're 7-2-1, not playing as well as we know they can. But like you said, the biggest things you're finding ways to win. And that's what good teams do. And that's what championship teams do. You're not always going to have a perfect game. We know that. But right now you got 79 back there and you got L's back there.
Right.
Both, like you said, Moose we've talked about him. We've said it plenty of times. This guy's a true professional. He's a good goaltender. Can count on him anytime you put him in, and Carter, if you want to say he had a tough game in the one in Boston, he sure did bounce back. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's won his last three. And like I said, the team, once they do get that vibe going, they're going to be a tough team to beat. They're a tough team to beat now. Look at them. They're 7-2-1. They're not even playing as well. And you're missing Sean Couturier, which you kind of forget about because it's been a couple weeks. So you're picking up Coots in a few weeks here, and I think they're only going to get better.
Yeah, that's the truth. Looking forward to seeing where they can take this thing because they top to bottom, in my opinion, they got a really, really solid team. And as soon as they find that stride and continue to build that chemistry, I mean, who knows where they can take this thing. So awesome to see for sure. May as well get right into this interview, Nast. What do you think?
All right, man. Yes, let's get into this awesome guest, Mike Richards, which is brought to you by DraftKings. The 55th big game is this weekend. 55. A game this big deserves a big prize, not just some trophy. To finish off the football season, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is giving all new customers a no-brainer of an offer. To celebrate football's finale, DraftKings Sportsbook is doubling your money if a touchdown is scored in the big game. That's right. All it takes is for one touchdown to be scored Sunday night, and boom, your money is doubled. Sounds like a no-brainer to me, Riggs. As if this game wasn't enough reason to party, with double the cash you'll be celebrating the next season. Don't forget about DraftKings Big Game Prediction Challenge with up to $55 million in total prizes up for grabs and instant prizes for everyone who enters the contest. DraftKings has paid out over $7 billion to the players since 2012, so they know a thing or two about big paydays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Knuckles to get a shot at doubling your money if a touchdown is scored on Sunday's game. That's promo code Knuckles for new customers to get a shot at doubling your money during Sunday night's season finale. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/predictions-challenge-DFS for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Nasty Knuckles. I'm Riley Cote.
I'm Derek Settlemyre, and we are so happy and pleased to have probably one of definitely my favorite player ever that I was able to work with. I could sit here for 2 minutes and tell you guys all the accomplishments. I'll just say this guy did it all. He won it all. Rick Bone, Mike Richards. Welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, boys? Good to be here. Big fan of the show.
Awesome.
Listen to everyone so far. Yeah.
Beautiful. I appreciate you hopping on. Wish we could have you in person. Probably be a little sweeter, but this is second best. So I appreciate you carving out the time.
Yeah, no problem. I got to check out the garage there, Nasty's a little workshop there at some point. So
it is a workshop.
I'll hop on another point.
I got to do your goalie skates for you, man. You got to send me the steel in.
Yeah, I actually need new gear, so
there we go.
I'll order it through no, it's all good, but yeah, pumped to be here, guys.
It's awesome, man. We're so happy to have you, brother. Basically, Rick Bone, growing up in Kenora, playing your hockey as a kid, what did you do? Because obviously Kenora is not huge. I know you're close to Winnipeg. How did you start getting noticed once you got to be a little older, 11, 12, 13, when scouts or junior teams start to look for kids? I don't know how early they start. It's no telling, but just growing up in Kenora there, I was fortunate enough. You invited me there one time and I enjoyed the hell out of myself. One of your cup parties, but anyway, like how did that happen for you?
Yeah, it was later than that, to be honest. Like I know in Toronto, a lot more people get noticed a little bit earlier and there's eyes on them a little bit earlier. But for me up north, nobody really saw who I was until I think my draft year in the OHL. And I went down to some prospect camps in Toronto before the OHL draft. And that was really the place, and I actually got drafted really high into the O, I think, through that. But other than really right before my draft year, scouts started coming a little bit more near the end of the year, just because obviously you hear some chatter. And then that prospects camp, and that was really the only time I think that I even thought about going to play in the O, to be honest. It was always just playing hockey growing up. And once I started hearing a little bit of the talk throughout that year, then you kind of set your goals a little higher. But to be honest, right until that point, I was just playing hockey to play hockey. I wasn't really hoping to make it to the OHL, let alone the NHL. There's always dreams, but you never really think that they're that realistic until I think it was that year that I really started thinking about it.
Wow, that's actually amazing. I did not know that. And being so close to Winnipeg, I guess the Western Hockey League was out of range, right? I mean, you're in Kenora, you had to stay in Ontario, so for you to go to Toronto probably made the most sense to get the visibility on you.
So just a quick story on that. We played out of the Manitoba Junior League or Manitoba Midget League.
That's right. Yeah.
Bantam and Huey. So we always went out west, and there was a scout, I think it was either Kamloops or Kootenay, that was actually trying to convince me not to go to the OHL and to wait until I was 18, because I had to wait until I was 18 to go out west. The scout was trying to convince me to wait until I was 18 years old so I could play closer to home. But Obviously didn't end up doing that. I just, at the time I was like, oh yeah, playing in Brandon, that'd be sweet, 4 hours from home. And then
Right.
I just, once you get to the O, you realize how short the bus rides are. And then hearing about the Western League bus rides, I was happy that I went to the OHL.
Yeah, I think you made the right decision. And plus, playing in Brandon, I think the bus trips are the longest. You know,
the worst.
maybe besides Prince George or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we had it pretty good in Kitchener, I think. Or our longest was to Sault Ste. Marie, which is like 6 or 8 hours or something, but we were like 20 minutes every which way. So we were happy that we didn't have to sit on those buses for that long, that you guys did in the dub.
Yeah, you had it made then. So take me through, like, you get drafted to the O, and then is it like immediately in that moment, do you realize that there's something there for you to grab a hold of? Like, you know, this is my dream now, or like, how does that work for you? Because you seem like such a dialed in guy, and, you know, to play the way you played, you know, I feel like that's coming from like deep within your, you know, the spirit of your being, you know, like where does that come from?
Yeah, it was actually funny when I got drafted. We had the under 17 like regional camp. It was like Thunder Bay, Kenora, and everybody in that little area on draft day. And it was the first year that they did the draft over the internet. So I was actually on the ice when I got drafted to the OHL. And I just remember getting off the ice from like a practice session or whatever. And my mom grabbed me, and I just saw the look on her face. And I was like, she's like, oh, you got drafted. And I was like, okay, that's great. Like, to who? And then she said Kitchener. And she's like, guess where you went? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I have no idea. She's like, you went 4th overall. So it was like the biggest surprise, I think, probably her more for me, just because my agent kind of told me a little bit beforehand, but I still never really believed it. And then, like, just the look on her face, I still remember it to this day. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That is amazing. So in that moment, she tells you 4th overall, and then is it that in that moment that you start believing in yourself more than you already did, that like, this is like something I could pursue and be really good at? Or
so a lot of people in the Toronto area, like Kitchener's obviously kind of in that little area. And so this guy who drafted me, his name is Jamie McDonald. And I had a little bit of communications with him before, and then obviously some after. And my mom made the mistake of going on to like message boards and like reading what they were saying and everything. And obviously nobody in Toronto or that area heard of me. So there was obviously not the greatest things said, because it is a message board. Right. And the guy who drafted me, Jamie McDonald, ended up getting fired like 2 weeks later.
Because he chose you?
No, I don't think it was because of that. But like, obviously, all my friends are like, "Oh, well, the guy got fired because he drafted you," which obviously wasn't the case, but it was still pretty funny. And then Pete DeBoer came in, but it's just funny. And I still actually, every once in a while, we'll get an email from Jamie, but every time I see his name pop up, I always think, I'm like, oh, he got fired.
That's hilarious.
DeBoer always, I heard from other trainers. I don't know him, but I know he really thought a lot of you from other, where he coached in San Jose. My buddy's there, Mikey Aldridge, and he said that he absolutely just loved Richie, which obviously I don't know how anybody couldn't, but I thought that was kind of cool. And you guys, 2003, I think it was, you win the Memorial Cup.
Yeah. We won the OHL, beat Ottawa, and then we went to Quebec City to win the Memorial Cup, which was pretty awesome. Quebec City is a pretty awesome, awesome place. But yeah, Pete was awesome to me. Like I just remember him walking in that first like meeting with the team, and Kitchener didn't have great success before I was there, and which is why they were drafting 4th overall. But and I was just like so happy to be there, so like just on cloud 9. And he walked in and he just put his like foot down. He's like, it's unacceptable that we missed the playoffs. It's unacceptable for this. And I was just like deer in the headlights after that. But he was awesome. He ran things like it was a professional team, and that's what he always preached. And Steve Spott, who is his assistant coach and who is there in San Jose, and I believe he's with him in Vegas now. And just those two together, it was just like yin and yang. One guy was hard. Spotter was always the guy to lighten the mood, and just a good chemistry, and he always treated me well. And even when I got drafted, we played against him in the finals. And you know, when like you're young and you meet somebody and he just seems like this big kind of, you know, like an older brother type person, but he was just like that, like big guy who I was always a little bit scared of. And I saw him before the finals the one year, and for whatever reason, just a little like not nervous to talk to him, but he was always just, you know, that guy who introduced me to junior hockey when I was 16. So we were talking and I'm like, oh, good luck in the finals. And then I walked away from that. I'm like, good luck. I'm like, that means he's going to win and I'm going to lose. So I like thought about it right after. I'm like, no, not good luck.
Not good luck.
No, but he always treated me well. For a long story short, he always treated me well and really set me up for pro hockey and to have success once I got there.
Nice. And would you say that, you know, he mentioned him like being like a pro and coaching the team, like a professional hockey team. Like I always look at you as like an ultimate leader and, you know, that character guy. Like, was that already in you? I mean, it had to have been already in you to some capacity, but you know, did that coaching philosophy and having a guy like that help you build that more?
Yeah, I think so. I think just in general, every kind of step that you go, you pick up things along the way, whether it's midget hockey, your coach is there, to junior hockey, and still in the NHL. I'm sure if you talk to guys like Sidney Crosby when he plays with a guy like Patrick Marleau a few years ago, I'm sure he's still learning some things too. So for me, it was always just like picking different things from different people growing up until I pretty much finished. And one of the best things that Steve Spott told me, the assistant coach in Kitchener, he always said, make sure to do something positive every single night. And that is something that like stuck with me from the day he told me until I stopped playing hockey, whether it's like, you know, killing a penalty, blocking a shot. It's just like one thing per game that make yourself or do something in a positive, one thing every single game. And just like small things like that along the way, you just pick things up, and that was one of them. Yeah,
and that's important advice. And then to your earlier point of like being a student, right? It sounds like you had the right attitude. Always, you never know it all. You're always learning until you're retired. You know, that's important, because I know a lot of, especially younger guys, I think they know it all, right? I mean, they're drafted high, this and that, and then they don't have that right attitude of always learning from your teammates, your coaches, the situation itself, which is an important lesson.
Well, exactly. And especially like if you look around the league at, you know, Joe Thornton is playing with Toronto now, but how many years he's played in the league. But then you have John Tavares, who's been in the league for so long. And then you have Jumbo coming in. I'm sure Tavares is picking things up from Jumbo. So there's always things that you can learn. And I think that was like the best part about getting older guys into the dressing room, is there's always something that you can learn. And if you're a younger guy and you come in and you think that you kind of have the world on your shoulders and you don't need to learn anymore, I think you're just doing yourself a disservice not to learn from people.
Yeah, it's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. So, Richie, you probably won every year in your midget and all that stuff, knowing you. I don't know that. But you win a Memorial Cup. Next thing you know, 2005, you win a world championship with Team Canada. And God, Riley and I were talking earlier about the team you guys had. Wow. Yeah. I mean, God, was it Crosby, Bergeron, Perry, Dalsey? I got to know a little bit with you through you. Stewie, big Stew Balls.
Yeah.
Is there Ladd, Gatzlav, God, MacArthur. I mean, Phaneuf.
Yeah.
So many guys. I'm forgetting Seabrook, I think. I'm forgetting some of the boys, but holy shit, did you guys have a chance to lose a game? My God, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's crazy because like the year before we lost against the Americans in Finland. And then we came back. Yeah, we were up 3-1 in the third. Thanks for bringing it up. But
you paid me back in 2010, bro.
Yeah, exactly. But even now, like every year you watch the World Juniors and they always put that team up. It's always talked about at some point. And just to see the names on that, it was pretty crazy. And then to have everybody back from the following year, from the year that we lost, we were that much driven. And one of the guys that actually wasn't on that team was Patrice Bergeron, and he was playing, the year before he got drafted, or he wasn't on the team. Then he got drafted from Boston to Boston, and then he ended up coming back and playing with us that year. So that team was insane. To look back now, yeah, we probably didn't have much of a chance, but Brent Sutter was our coach, and I've known a few Sutters, and they would never ever let us get a little complacent. So he was on us till last minute, but it was pretty remarkable to see that team and to see how well everybody's done.
I'm not sure if you watched this year's, but Team Canada this year, 19 first round draft picks. Like, are you kidding me? But I mean, the good guys won in the end.
Yeah,
as you know, pretty dominating performance.
I watched that, and if you look at like the American team, like they didn't have obviously as many first rounders, but they had like some like gritty guys and guys that would like like sandpaper guys, guys that like got in there a little bit more. And in that first period, like they were just everywhere. And sometimes, you could have a little bit too many cooks in the kitchen when you have 19 first round picks. And obviously if, it's a 1 game sample size. So obviously you're not going to turn down first rounders. Like every single player on that team had so much skill that pretty much before that 1 game, they weren't really tested, but the Americans were good. After that first period, I was nervous. I said to my wife, I'm like, I don't think this is going to go very well. But those kids now, just to watch that tournament and just see how skilled they are is remarkable. Like every single player, their hands and vision and speed is like just unbelievable. That Zegras kid, the Cousins kid from Canada. There's probably 5 or 6 of them that I was just in awe watching of how great of players they are already, and which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I hate to say it because obviously I'm an American, and I'm so happy it was a 1 game thing. But if you go even best of 5, that it may go another way. Definitely best of 7. I mean, you never know, but
you never know. I honestly, I didn't watch 1 American game before that, and that first period, like they were flying, and like they had a really good team. Like I said, they had like guys that had a little bit, get in on the forechecks and a little bit like rougher around the edges guys, and you need that on hockey teams. You can't have just full skill. So I don't know, 5 games, it may go the other way, but it may not. They had a good team.
The importance of sandpaper, hey? The grit.
Yeah.
Grit. Grit is actually the word I was looking for.
But it's so true though. It's a really good point. I think if they'd gone to 5 or 7 games, they would have to change their game somewhat. I mean, maybe like a little bit more defined roles, because the fourth line maybe can't be that skilled and just got to get a little greasier. But
yeah, you know what? I was actually asked that after the tournament. You're just sitting around, or people see me back home and always ask, like, how come Canada always has a tough time with the Americans? And it may be because, and this isn't like a chirp against American hockey, but Canadian hockey just has a lot more of like the first rounders, the top notch guys, where Americans, they have two lines and then they have to get a little bit of the grittier guys in the second or the third and fourth line. And that's a hockey team. And when you play against another North American team, and you need to have that gritty, forecheck style game, and maybe the difference.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So evolving out of the World Juniors there, I think it lands up being the same year that you land up joining the Phantoms in 04-05 Calder Cup. I think second round you joined, landed up finishing just over a point a game. But talk about your experience coming to Philly. You obviously already been drafted, coming to the Phantoms and then joining a team that was, already doing very well, but then, obviously adding that extra juice to the lineup.
Yeah, that was, it was pretty nerve-wracking, actually. I knew a lot of the guys the year before. I had a concussion, so I didn't play with you guys like Cartsy did, but I literally just like hung out at the rink.
Yeah,
I couldn't do anything when I was in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
so I got to know a bunch of the guys, and then obviously with training camp, a lot of the guys too. So you knew a lot of people, but it's still awkward coming in to the second round of the playoffs when everybody's been together all year.
Trust me, we were excited. We were excited. We knew who was coming.
Yeah, but at some point though, you are taking somebody's job, so it is a little awkward. There were some guys that probably weren't overly thrilled about it, but at the same time, everybody was great to me and really welcomed me, and we're just there to win. So that was pretty cool. And we had a good time. I mean, playoff hockey is so much fun to play in that nobody really cares what's going on, or most people don't care what's going on with numbers or what's going on with stats or whatever it is, that they just want to win. And that was a pretty awesome team to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the year. I mean, arguably had to be the best teams from every team that you could put together because of the lockout. I mean, there were pros that had already been playing in the NHL, obviously. I mean, it was a great league. It was a great league that year. It was all the games. I mean, all the teams were pretty damn good. And like you said, we had a hell of a team. And then, I had you and Jeff was unreal.
Yeah. And there was guys too that did what Jeff and I did too, was come up and join their teams too. So I think that made it a little bit easier too, where you kind of knew who you're playing with it, looking across the ice too. So it wasn't like a huge task of going from like junior hockey to the pros. It was you saw some familiar faces on the other side. So I think that made it easier too.
Yeah. It was, not only did we have the skill with all you guys, but we had a couple guys that like to chuck the knucks a little bit. We've talked about a few of them before, Riley and I. Riley obviously being one. Josh Gratton, Divot, Ben Eager. Yeah. I mean, God, I miss Friggy. Friggy was on the team.
Vandermeer.
I mean, there were. You had to line up, and I don't think many people really wanted to against our team.
Still to this day, I think the best fight that I've seen in person was it McGrattan and Gratz in the finals or semi?
I think it was Cote and Derek in Providence, right in front of the bench.
Providence was one, and he fought somebody in the finals.
Guillaume Lefebvre when he buckled him against Chicago.
Yeah, I just remember Gratz being like in the bathroom, like throwing up after, like in between periods, because he just literally went toe to toe with this guy for, it had to have been a minute 30. And typical Gratz fight where it was just like punch each other in the face until somebody like says quit, which none of them usually did. But I just remember that fight, and I was just like, "Holy smokes!"
and then you ask Gratz, did he get you a couple? No,
pillows.
Not a mark on his damn face, eh?
Oh no!
How does that happen?
Yeah, he had more marks on his knuckles than he did on his face.
I think the one time I've seen him actually cut, he didn't bleed. It was like this small, like mini cut.
Just oozed.
just like on his forehead.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. But I will say this. I'll never forget when we were playing Scranton, and they were a big rival for the Phantoms, them and
Yeah.
Hershey. I know you never really had to deal with that, but coming into the playoffs, you saw a bit of it. And we were down in the game, and I think the series had they made it 3-2, Riles? I can't remember if it was 3-1 or 3-2. And I'll never forget Witter, my buddy Ryan Whitney, saying, he said in the paper, he didn't say it to me because I didn't know him at the time, we're like the Red Sox were coming back, and they were up in the third, 3-1, 4-1. And I remember Riley and Josh's line went out there, got a big goal, and then Johnny kind of double shifted them. Next thing you know, these guys are, Riles and those guys are dumping in the corner, and no one wanted to go get it. We ended up coming back, and we ended up winning by 2 or 3 goals that game.
Yeah, it was like 7-4.
It ended up being, and it talks a little bit about having that grit you were talking about, Richie, and obviously these guys are a little bit more than gritty, but
a little bit.
They could play the game as well. I mean, I remember Gratz scoring that big goal, and all of them running around. Well, I know I wouldn't want to be receiving one of those hits.
No, and it was good for like guys like Cartsy and I to come up there and play and just getting thrown in. And then if anything happened, I just remember like Riles, Gratz, like Vandermeer would be coming over, or not Vandermeer. Anyways, it was just like everybody was just like right around you, and you're like, oh, feeling pretty tough right now. But it just made us feeling like comfortable too, of, like we're not going to have to worry about anything. Like, everybody's got our back sort of thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was probably a perfect blend of, skill and toughness. Obviously, you're never going to see a team like that in hockey ever again. But, I think a lot of the guys on the team that year had never really had a full stint in the NHL. A couple of them, I think Yoni Pickinen maybe played a full year. Dennis Seidenberg maybe. A couple cups of coffee for a couple others. But, for a lot of these guys to go on and have like significant NHL careers, was pretty impressive, considering that I don't think anybody in our team finished top 20 in scoring throughout the regular season. So it was a pretty interesting group for sure. So to talk about
just a bunch of good guys too.
Yeah, great guys. It was a great group.
Lots of fun, man.
That was the one thing I remember most about the team was how tight the team was, and just like a good group of guys from goaltending all the way out. And then I thought Johnny and Chief were, great coaches, and just I don't know, there was just some really good chemistry going on in that team. The fact that earlier in the season we went 17 games in a row, without losing, which that doesn't happen very often, something like that. So you can only do that if you're pulling together and pulling in the right direction. So it was a interesting experience, for sure. Probably the best overall team that I'd been a part of, team wise, hockey wise, as well as character wise. But it was pretty cool.
Ontario Ninomaki wasn't bad either in the playoffs.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
I remember, I'll get off this in a second, but I remember game 1, us going into Chicago there, and we came out of the period 0-0, and I'll never forget Ben Stafford, old Ducky. Oh, I love that guy. He came out, I think I was sharpening his skate, and he came out and he goes, holy fuck. He goes, how many 2 or 3-on-1s did they have that period? Like 5. And I was like, I think you're right, man. He goes, oh boy. And then we end up winning both games there because we swept the series. But that team was good. You can't take anything away from the Chicago. I mean, they had a really good team as well. Yeah. But it was so much fun. It was so much fun being around you guys, and you guys were a tight knit group for sure.
Yeah. To talk about, moving on with the Flyers and then your time in Philly as a Flyer and then eventually being the captain of the Flyers. I mean, it's a unique city. Obviously, they're hard on their players. Win, lose, or draw, they're expecting just, some grunt work and, honest effort. Like, just talk about your time in Philly as a player and as a Flyer.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it in Philly. I always look forward to getting back to the season. We had good teams, really, other than the second year we were
Tough team.
terrible.
Worst year in Flyers history, to be exact. Year 40.
We were terrible.
Year
I think
40.
we were out of it by like American Thanksgiving.
It was not going well.
But other than that year, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But even like how crazy it is that we were that bad a second year. And then the next year, we lost out to Pitt.
In the final, in this
conference final. Yeah, like what the turnaround with Hartsey, Chemo, Danny, like a bunch of guys coming in. But
Jason Smith,
Gator,
Hatch, I mean,
like it was insane how quick of a turnaround that was. But it was always good. The Flyers, I got nothing bad to say about them ever. Like Mr. Snyder was incredible to me. Just the fact of getting to know him a little bit and just how awesome of a person he was. He'd go to offer tickets to the 76ers games, and that was so much fun going there with him. And then just the crowds there, obviously, were like a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon against either the Rangers or Pitt, when they sung God Bless America, like that would just, make the hair on your neck stand up every time.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. Even to this day, anytime I hear that song, it's literally, I still get goosebumps just from hearing that. So it was fun. We had a bunch of good teams. Still probably one of the biggest disappointments of my career was losing to Chicago in the finals that year. And I still think if Ray Emery didn't get hurt that year, the late great, I think we would have won the cup that year. But it is what it is. It was a pretty cool experience to see how amazing that city was and how much they were behind us.
Yeah, I mean, when your first year, your rookie year, you were there with Hitch for a season and about 9 games because that next season was with me. But I know, like, I remember you telling me before, like, how big of a Forsberg fan you were.
Oh, yeah.
Coming in and seeing him and, like, going on the ice with him. I mean, I know when I was finally up there and I'd watch him every day, you're just like, this guy's like, I can't play my feet. And you're watching him, you're going, dude, there's no one near you on the ice. Like, I mean, as good as you are and the plays you're making. And, he's like, just like, oh my God. Him at 70% was like, anyone would want to be 70% of Peter Forsberg,
Yeah, I've told the story 1,000 times probably, but my best Peter Forsberg story is when we went out in Boston, there's probably 6 or 7 of us that were injured, and there was a 1:00 game the next day, and we all went out. We were out till 3 a.m. and we were all just gooned, but we had to get up at 6 a.m. and I think it was Chief actually that was bag skating us. I think it was anyways. It might've been Johnny, but we were just getting absolutely bag skated, and Peter was out and he finished about 3 down and backs and he went and sat on the bench, and he just looks at, I guess we went and talked to Jimmy after, and I guess Peter got off the ice and was like, if I can do this, I can play in a game. So we got undressed. He went out that afternoon. He got a hat trick, and that's all. That's how she goes.
Yeah.
If I can bag skate, I can play. So get off the ice 3 goals later. Thanks for coming.
Exactly. I remember us, Richie, being in the year we were really, really bad, and Fopuk was having issues with his feet and everything, and I think his groin as well, to be honest. But Homer and them were like, we really need you to play. Like, we are the worst team in the league. Yeah. It's just like right around December, because it was that Western trip we used to take.
Which probably didn't help him.
Probably not. So I'll never forget, he goes out in the morning skate with you guys, and he looks great, but him, he's like, in his mind, if I'm not 100% or whatever. So he comes in, and Homer, I'll never forget, Paul Holmgren talking to him, and then so Fob was like, all right, I'll play. First period, he had like 2 goals and 2 assists in the first 10 minutes, and everyone's just like looking at each other going, "Are you fucking serious, man?" Like,
Yeah.
dude,
To
he
this
was
day,
just so good, man.
yeah. To this day, I still think the best hockey I've been on a team with and seen one person dominate a game was him in that series against Buffalo. It was my first year we played Buffalo. We lost in 6 games.
Right.
But it should have went 4. We got down 2-0 in Buffalo, and those 2 games that he played in Philly were the best hockey by one player I have ever seen. He was insane, and we ended up losing in 6. But we shouldn't even have been in literally the same rink as those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was pretty awesome, and when Philly signed him, I was playing softball actually, and it got a little text on my phone or a call, and I remember for like the next week I was like a 10-year-old kid just getting to play with Peter. And then the first time seeing him, I was in the gym and he walked in and he just had this like aura about him where he's just got that long hair, and he was the nicest guy to play with, and he was just all about the team. It really was a shame that he had those feet problems, because he was just an absolutely insane hockey player, and I loved watching him.
He was, and you're right. Like, what a good man too. Like, just a great guy, man. I love getting to see him when he comes to town. And
it didn't matter what he was doing, he would invite like everybody to do it. Yep. Like in LA, the one time when it was like the Victoria's Secret like fashion show like after party, and
I'm not going to that. No.
Yeah, and he was going, but he was like asking around of like who wants to go, and this like as a ticket is probably like the hardest thing in the world to come by.
Right.
And he's just like, "Oh, I'm going here after. Anybody want to come?" And obviously everybody's like, obviously.
I'll go.
But just like small things like that, where like it didn't matter what he was going to out in New York with whoever, he always asked, tons of people. It didn't matter. He was a class act, and definitely one of my favorite teammates.
Yeah. Richie, like, to me, you were I mean, the perfect captain in my eyes. I know, Riles, we've talked about this before, like maybe not the loudest, losing your shit in the locker room, which I think actually is a good thing. So you're calm, but no one could argue the way you played the game on the ice. I mean, you're a captain, man. No matter what you want to say, you're one of the greatest captains I've been around, and pretty young when you get named a captain. And in Philadelphia, it's a tough city, like we just talked about. But what were your thoughts about it? Like,
I remember being a little bit nervous about it. I do remember, like Homer and Johnny and I all had a meeting, and I remember saying, like, if this is what you want right now, then I'll be the captain. But if it's like something that like you're giving it to me now because you have no one else, or if you're giving it to me now because you think in a few years, excuse me, I'm going to be the captain. Like, if it's now what you want, then obviously I'm going to accept, and I'll do the best job I can. And they were both like extremely like dead set that like this is what they wanted now, and that gave me a lot of confidence to accept it and take it. And I think that from that point on, it just gave me a lot of confidence that what I was doing was fine, and I didn't have to change anything. And then, like I said before, you kind of just like pick things up. The year before, Jason Smith was our captain, and like he was, to me, what a captain should be. Stuck up for his teammates. He never complained about anything. He just kind of went about his business, and that's kind of what I tried to do too.
Yeah, and you did that, very well. I mean, it's like in your blood. I was going to ask you, like, being a more, like, say, reserved say conservative guy, like just knowing you and your personality, and then going to like a big market like Philly and being the captain there, like what's it like, having to deal with the pressure of not just playing hockey, because you prove what you needed to on the ice, the way you played, the locker room, the glue you have, what's it like being a more reserved guy, but having to deal with the media on a daily basis?
Yeah, it wasn't just the media. I think it was kind of everything around it. It was tough. I think when you're young, when I first got there, you're kind of a young, arrogant kid, and you kind of love the attention. You love being recognized. You love talking to media. You pretty much just love it all. You just want, any of it, more of it, whenever. Right. And then after a few years, I think the glow of it all kind of wears off, and it becomes more of a chore. And the media I didn't find as bad. It was more going out to restaurants, being at, say, a bar, and just being like looked at, where, like right. You said, I'm kind of reserved. I'm kind of like quiet. I don't like talking in front of like big crowds, but always kind of having an eye on you. I think that's the thing that really kind of weighed on me, was walking into a building and having people kind of looking at you or something like that. But I think that was the toughest to adjust to. And then the media, I think, was fine. I mean, it got annoying and aggravating a little bit on a daily basis, but you just kind of knew every single day that you had to talk to them, mentally prepared. It's no different than practice. You knew you were practicing that day. Right. And you go to the rink, you're going to talk. And I think as I got older, I got better at it too. Whereas I think when I was first started being captain, I think I didn't treat them as well as I probably should have, just to try to get them on my side a little bit more. Like Prongs was really good at that. Like Prongs would joke with them and have kind of spin his, like they would write pretty much what he would talk about. So he kind of guided the narrative a little bit better. And I think my first few years as captains, or my first one or two, I kind of did a poor job of dealing with those relationships. And obviously they would write whatever they were going to write to begin with. But once I saw kind of Prongs deal with them a little bit better, and then you kind of, adapt to that and try to gain a little bit better relationships. And I think that helped me too. But those first couple of years, I think definitely could have been better.
Yeah. Well, I think it's it's a learning curve, right? I mean, sometimes you're not sure if they're on your side or they're against you. And it's kind of finding that balance of how to talk to them, how to work with them, because some of them seem like they're out to get you.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing is, if you think that they're out to get you, then there probably are, because you're not going to treat them very well. So if there's an instance that you can take the narrative away from one thing, you can put it on another if you just know how to kind of talk about it. Like I said, which Prongs did really, really well. Like he would joke with Panoch every day by literally just like chirping him. But
he was dead serious.
But he loved it, because he gave him attention,
Exactly.
And in turn, and then when they would ask him questions, he would give them straight answers, and they would write what he said instead of already having like a plan going in, where I would give them absolutely nothing and just give them like crappy cliches. And then they would just write what they thought instead of kind of how you put it. So there's a lot of things I probably could have done better, but it is what it is. You learn, you grow, and
exactly.
You kind of learn to deal with it a little bit better too. Just being in the spotlight every single day, it's not much of a chore. If, like I said, if you kind of plan to deal with it the way that you can turn that into a positive instead of always kind of being a burden.
Right.
Rick Bone, I'm not sure if you I've watched a lot of hockey yet. I know usually you tune in more during the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, but did you happen to see Jake Voracek's interview?
Yeah, I did.
Were there any times you just wanted to say that? Something like that?
I just love how you could tell he was trying to bottle it up, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
What he's like, I'm not even going to answer the question. And then he started answering the question, but then he had it too bottled up. He just couldn't.
Yeah.
He's like, weasel.
He is one person, and it's pretty tough to bottle that man up.
Yeah. It is what it is. I mean, sometimes you just can't hold it in. And that was one of those cases. And then you probably should. Sometimes you just have to let it fly. So, I saw that and I just started laughing because I've definitely felt that a little bit. Probably no outbursts like that. I probably did a little bit better job holding it in, but
oh man,
sometimes it's needed to be said.
Yeah, right. Keep them accountable too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was trying to do. I think.
Exactly.
I think he did.
Yeah, I think he did too.
Richie, one of the things that I've always thought about, and Riley and I have talked about it before. We had that run to the Stanley Cup, which, I mean, for me personally, that was one of the best years I've ever had in hockey. We had the outdoor game in Boston. Unfortunately, we lost that one in OT, but it's still what an experience it was, man. I mean, Fenway, it snowed a bit. It was just so cool. And then the Olympics, which we didn't bring up yet, where you won again. The gold medal, stripping this young fella here of a gold medal. But no, seriously, it was an awesome. That 2 weeks was crazy, and I mean, God, I just had so much fun anyway, and it was cool because I couldn't be with you a lot, but we did see each other almost daily, and I did get to share a little bit of it with you, and watching you win was cool, and Prongs too. Even though I was heartbroken, don't worry about it, Rick Bone. But seriously, what I was going to say was, we go from that year, then we lose in the finals. And like you said, we were kind of banged up, which I'm sure they were too. Yeah. We were missing Razor. I thought Lates and Bush did a hell of a job getting us there, one of another, but at the same time, like you said, the late, great Ray, man, he was something else. But, the next year is what I was going to get to. We've got a good team again. We go into the playoffs. We ended up winning in 7 against Buff. Prongs was hurt the whole time. And Buffalo, they played well, man. I mean, and they had Miller, it wasn't like they were an easy out, but we found a way. We were down. You guys were down 3-2. Big, I think you assisted Ville, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in game 6. And then we just pumped them at home. That place was going bananas.
JVR.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
And the next round, again, I'm not saying we would have beat Boston. They went on to win the Cup. They had a really good team, and they probably wanted to kill us from the year before. Yeah. Which we can get into that in a minute. But my point was that team, even that year, the second year after the Cup, I feel like dismantling that team. God, we were still young. You guys were still mid-20s. And looking back, if you just look at that team, it's like, holy cow, man. That was a good hockey team and a close-knit group. Yeah. Yeah,
I always am so impressed with, say, when Pittsburgh repeated a few years ago, 16, 17, whatever, 17, 18, whatever it was. That next year is so tough after you go to the finals, especially losing. It took me 3-4 weeks just to scrape myself off the couch, because people think that when you lose you have so much motivation to get in the gym and do that, but when you put so much time and effort and your body is broken, and I just remember waking up that next day and I was so sore, so tired, and you just have nothing, you go through that long of I forget the exact number, but between the NHL, the Olympics, and then going to the finals, I forget the exact number, but it was close to 100 hockey games that year. And then you have a short summer, then you're literally right back at it. But yeah, I think Boston was just raring to go because we came back on them, whatever, 3-0, 3-love, whatever, however you say it, and come back and win in that series. And then they swept us. But I just remember everybody was just, by the end of that year after we went to the finals, everyone was beat up, tired.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy. So to get back to your point about that young team, I remember being at a ball game with Peter, the president.
Peter Luco.
Peter Luco. And we actually got into that conversation about how we had such a young group of great hockey players and great people. And if we can keep this team together, is what we were saying, we could easily win in the next few years.
Right.
And we didn't win that year, but you know, I think sometimes when you want to win so much, you kind of like everything has to be right now. And so they traded Bobrovsky.
That's right.
And, you know, obviously not a great trade, but they needed goaltending. So, and they thought that was the best chance of winning. So they brought Breeze in, but just like from, what was it, conference finals, I think it was first or second round, we lost. And then finals, I think that was a 3-year stretch, something like that anyways. Yeah. But you could tell we were like just on the edge, you know, like you just kind of had to go through some bumps to get to where we wanted to go. And then right as we started feeling those bumps the one year of Boston sweeping us, and then it seemed like everything was just like starting to kind of pull apart. It was pretty disappointing, to be honest with you.
It really was. I think, you know, even like I was a pigeon. I'm an equipment guy, but I just remember even the staff and us being like, what's that?
The best pigeon in the league.
Nonetheless, the pigeon. But just, you know, thinking like, dude, we're going to do this. And then, you know, like next year or two, like you really could feel it. And then just the devastation of everything that happened after that.
Like I kind of get it too, though. Like Mr. Snyder, let's be honest, was getting older at that point, and he just wanted to win so bad.
Right.
You know, where it just turned to, there was a few years of, you know, goaltending woes, and to get back, like Lates and Bush did such an amazing job, but like Razor started the year as our number one goaltender. It is what it is, but he just wanted a goaltender so bad that I'm assuming that Mr. Snyder said something to Homer about do anything you can to do it.
Okay.
And next thing you know, the team looks a lot different than what it did. So I get it. I get the whole business side of it, but to say that I wasn't disappointed and a little bit hurt about being traded, that'd be a lie.
Yeah, I know. I didn't take it real well.
No,
that's for sure.
Not shock too. You know, to move a guy like yourself too, it's just like, you know, meat and potatoes, and you know, such a character guy. Just like, to me, it just seems like it's an odd move to try and win a championship. But the whole
way it went down too, like the whole, like how it went down of like from the end of the year about how like them saying they weren't going to trade Jeff, and then to get to the draft of like me and Cartsy talking, and then like my agent calling me the night before the draft and being like, hey, I got to talk to you, and thinking the whole time that it was like he was going to say that they're trading Carts, and then to him bring it up to me like it's actually you that's being like possibly traded. And then like literally within like 2 hours of it actually happening, and then, you know, it just, I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way of how it happened too, of not even like getting a phone call of
right,
like, you know, this may happen, or, you know, to hear it like literally like a 30-second phone call, not even, it was like a 8-second phone call. Hey, we traded you to LA. And then, it just, I don't know. It is what it is. Everything happens for a reason, and worked out, but it just left a bitter taste in my mouth at that point.
Well, I'll tell you that, you know this, Rick Bone, about me. I probably bug the shit out of you because I'm always messaging you stuff. But even when you guys were going on those runs, man, like there wasn't anyone more excited than me. I think you know that, and the other guys too that were close with you, and it was awesome to see that, man, especially the very first year. And then that Cartsy, Jeff Carter might be the luckiest dude I know, man. Going to Columbus, man. This guy, he didn't want any part of it.
No, and it was funny because I forget exactly when he came out to LA, but it was like 8-9 games in that Columbus played in LA, and we went for like a little walk down at the beach in Manhattan Beach, and he just looked around. I just remember I'm like, how the fuck did I get in Columbus and you came here? And I was just like, I don't know. Sorry, man.
Sorry about that. But next thing you know, you're going to be, I remember that trade with that. He actually, Cartsy, first thing he said was,
Columbus.
No, but seriously, I remember him coming in very early in the season. We played Columbus, and he came to the rink early, and we were just shooting the shit. And obviously, he didn't have anything bad to say, but he was we're not very good. I might play. I don't know if I play tonight. He actually did have something wrong with his foot. But I remember, a few weeks later, like we read. Carter got traded to LA. I'm like, these two, you got to do something for me, boys. You can get me in there.
You could have came. You could have came. You knew it.
Oh man, but no, it just worked out for you two. It was so much fun to see, and then God, you end up winning another one. But I got a question for you, Richie. I remember you telling me the story. I don't know if you said it was your first week, your first day, or whatever, but you're obviously right there on the beach and you see these guys surfing. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to get a surfboard.
Yeah.
I'll let you take it over from there.
Well, I did. So I was like a block from the beach, but like the reason, like I struggled for like the first like little bit in LA, but it was so nice every single day there. Like I was surfing, I was golfing, I was, like hockey would be like a sidebar of like, I got to go to the rink in the morning and like surfing in the afternoon. So when I got there, I was just sitting there and a bunch of people would run by my house with their surfboards and the wetsuits. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to get one. So I got one and I had the old wetsuit and I would run down there after practice and surf for a few hours, and usually I wasn't very good, so I'd literally just like sit out on the board and on the ocean and relax there for a bit and walk up, and that was that.
I was telling Riley, I thought I remember you saying that one of the first days you went out there, you tried to jump, catch a wave, and you went down, and you're like, and you get hit like that, you don't know which way is up or down. You said to me, all I could picture in my mind was the article, the headline the next day, King's new forward is done.
Especially depending on, where the tide is. If it's a high tide or whatever, I don't know if that's correct, but when it starts getting up on the beach, you're starting to ride and you get under there and you're like right into the bottom, and it takes you a few seconds to kind of gauge where you are, and you come out, and I was just looking around like, what?
I remember you telling me that story, and I was like, well, what'd you do? Just go do it again? You go, no, I just sat on the board for about an hour and a half and watched.
That's about it. Yeah.
That always me. I mean, thank God. It worked out okay. But I always thought that was I've told a few people that. I just thought it was really funny. Getting out there. So you win a couple cups there. We know that. Some of the guys that I just wanted to bring up because I actually been fortunate enough to get to know them through USA Hockey, but Greener and Quickie, D'Lo Brown, Dustin Brown, those guys playing with them. How was that?
Yeah, we had a very similar team as we did in Philly with a bunch of like younger guys, like really good group of guys like Greener, Stoley, just everybody actually. It was kind of the same. Like it was almost like eerie a little bit how you just go from one team to the other, and everybody's relatively the same age doing the exact same thing in a different city. And yeah, it was a riot. We had a good team, really good team, and just a good group of guys. And I mean, you're hanging out on the beach, so no complaints there either.
What a league!
Yeah, what a league! Yeah.
Yeah, Richie. I was going to ask you, Richie. Like you go to LA, and you talked about it earlier about being noticed in public and stuff like that. Obviously, in LA, there's like legitimate like Hollywood A-listers, and I remember seeing something on as a 30 for 30 ESPN where you were filming and following you around, and you went to an event, and the lady at the front desk had no idea who you were. But like the mind, just talk about like the mindset, like were you able to kind of just lay in the weeds and just be you and just play and perform without that extra weird pressure that was like prevalent in Philly.
Yeah, exactly. When you were away from the rink, you felt like you could be away from the rink, like you didn't have to like carry it around with you all day, which I mean, it gets exhausting every time you like leave. You kind of have to not be on, but you know what I mean? Like you're going to be recognized. People are going to see you. Where LA, like unless it was playoffs and like we were doing well and we had like the big playoff beards, like nobody would recognize you. And if they did, nobody really cared. They would be encouraging towards you. So yeah, I guess that would be the biggest difference is when you left the rink, you can just go, you pretty much just leave the rink, you leave everything at the rink. You obviously think about stuff, but it's not always there. Whereas, in Philly, whether it's good or bad, you go down the road, you go to restaurants, you go to the bar, people are going to notice you. And, that could be a good thing. And, sometimes it could be a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with it all the time, Rick.
Yeah.
It's tough. I don't know if you've, just a couple men's league championships here the last couple of years and stuff like that. I mean, it does get annoying. You do have to be on though.
Yeah. I don't want it to seem though like I'm complaining about stuff like that. Like it's not a terrible thing. It's just one of those things where it is an adjustment. We'll say.
I couldn't imagine. I'm totally kidding.
Yeah. I know you are.
I feel for you guys in that situation because, most of the time you do run into some assholes. Obviously, you just want to be jerks, but most of the time it's literally people just so excited. Oh my God, but still you're trying to eat dinner.
Yeah.
With people.
The funniest, maybe not interaction, but like everybody in Philly was always so awesome. And, like you said, there'd be a handful of guys, which there's a handful of guys for everything that are always a little bit of jerks. But it was during the playoffs. We were at Budokan eating dinner the night before a game. And I remember this guy literally getting mad at me that I was out eating, that I wasn't at home getting ready for the game. And I was like, I got to eat.
Hey, listen, Richie, he wanted it more than you.
Yeah, he did.
I'll never forget JVR did something at the Philadelphia Union way back. It was probably his rookie year, but he did an appearance there, and Jimmy Rollins was with him. So they were sitting there talking, and JVR was obviously a young kid.
Yeah.
J-Roll was J-Roll,
yeah.
And they got to talking about the fans, and he was like, "Yeah, it's great here." He goes, "The only problem is there's some that think they actually want to win more than you do as the athlete. And that's what drives you nuts when they're like that." And
it's like the 1 percentile.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
the 99% is awesome. And, maybe a picture, which is the easiest thing in the world to do.
Yeah.
But that's a good way to put it. That 1% feels like they want to win more than us.
You guys are out there putting your balls on the line, doing everything you can, and you should be eating a home cooked meal, Mike.
Yeah, you should be at home resting, getting ready for the game. Like, okay. But he was like, no joke, he was actually mad that I was there. But well, it was all good. I had a good time.
Yeah.
I did want to mention also you being nominated for the Selkie in 2008, 2009. Lost to Datsuk, not a bad player. I mean, guys, pretty good. I'll never forget Richie. Actually, us three were together. We were in Vegas because I went and TimmyParr.com. Here he comes again. Great stories about Timmy that trip, but I can't tell him. It's a PG show. But no, in all seriousness, I'll never forget, like, I had obviously seen Pavel Datsuk play. I mean, you seem to just watch him when you guys were playing against him. But as far as looking like an athlete, I remember him walking by me and he was dressed like my grandpa would have dressed. Like, he had like shorts on, a button up short sleeve shirt, and he loafers with little socks. And I'm like, bro, you can't wear socks. Idiot. And I remember walking by, and I don't know who was with me, but I'm like, oh my God. If you saw him and you didn't know hockey.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What is wrong with that guy? Like,
meanwhile, he is literally the only guy that like 90% of the league would turn a game on to watch is if he's playing it.
Yes,
exactly. Like if there was a Detroit game on in a dressing room and it went to a shootout, you would have 25 guys standing in front of the TV just to watch him shoot.
Yes.
Like he had that power. And I remember we played in Detroit when I was with LA, and he turned, I forget exactly the move, but he did it on Doughty, like on Dewey. And not many people do that. And I just remember there was at least 6 or 7 of us on the bench that just went at the exact same time. Oh my God. And he scored. It was like inside, outside, and he shelved it. And we all just said, like, not even looking at each other. It was just like, oh my God.
And you're right, Doughty, there aren't many people walking that. Man. He's a hell of a player, man.
No, he just, like, if he was on TV and I was scrolling through while I played, I didn't really watch any hockey, but if he was on, I would turn it.
Yeah.
Watch him play.
And going back to the Olympics for a second, I think, is that where you met Doughty?
Yeah.
Were you guys, I remember you guys kind of hanging with each other a little bit.
Yeah, that's where I met him. I met him at the summer camp for the Olympics, but that was a riot there.
Yeah. So I had a few nights where I'm not going to lie to you. I may not remember exactly what I was doing. I didn't get arrested, so that's always a good thing. But I'll never forget, you guys beat USA. I wasn't playing, obviously.
Yeah.
What a game. Zach Parise ties it. I mean, I went from the highest I've ever been. Then Sid's got to bury one, of course, the golden goal. But I remember after the game, going, saying hey to you, giving you a hug and everything. And you were like, hey, like, I'll message you if you want to come. I'm like, well, I got to go with my team. Those guys that just lost, But we actually, you talk about, like, it was about, I mean, those guys they were guys crying. I mean, obviously devastated. I mean, that was probably the closest since the 80. Well, definitely had to be the closest since 80 to USA hockey. Yeah. And, I thought, and we had beat you guys in the regular round there, whatever you want to call it, the round robin. We had won. And I just remember being on the bench, and Richie, I know you've been there as a player, Riley, you too, but you guys were up, but the guys kept we're going to get one. We're going to, and we got one. And I got a great picture of me. I'm like jumped up, of course, because you know how like low key I am.
Yeah.
I'm jumped up, and Quickie had jumped up too, and he wasn't dressed, but he was standing behind me at the sticks, and he landed on me, and he's not a small man.
No.
He landed on me at one point, and I kind of fell, and all the boys are jumping up and down, and I got my hands on the ground, and I'm trying to hold my hands, but my face is I'm like, I just want to watch, see what's going on. But anyway, after the game, you and I talked for a couple minutes, and obviously you're going to have some fun with the boys. And speaking of Chris Pronger, Prongs comes over to me in the hallway. Now he had his whole family there, so he's going right to his room. We had a 7 a.m. flight, Mr. Snyder's jet. Chemo was going to be on it, and you and Prongs and myself. I don't know if I'm missing anyone. I think Oscar Spartulis had left because he was there. Anyway, point of my story was Prongs comes and grabs me, and I'm still kind of down a little bit. And I'm like, what? He's like, hey, fool, because that's what he always called me. I'm like, what's up, man? I'm like, what's up, Beast? He goes, listen, I want to make sure you and Richie are on that plane, on time. And I'm like, all right, like, really? You just want to gold medal, bro? Like, kind of like laughing. He was like, no, I'm serious because I know all you guys are going out and you should. Got to enjoy it. I got the family here. I got to go. I'm like, all right, Beast, gotcha. So it's like 2 a.m. and he's texting me. Make sure you and Rick Bone, you and Richie are there. I ain't worried about Chemo because Chemo had his parents, his family, sorry. And so like, all right. So I get back to the hotel, I get my stuff together. So I had been keeping in touch with Richie all, about every hour. So it's getting to be about 5:30 now. I'm getting a little nervous, like, where's Rick Bone? So I'm texting, no answer. So I called your phone probably 5 times now. And it's like, we needed to leave around 6 to get to the airport, right? Yeah. So Riggs, you'll enjoy this last part, but it's like 5:45, 6, 7 phone calls. Finally, he answers, and there's like 5 minutes to 6, and he answers like this: "Hey, bro, what's up?" I'm like, dude, where are you? I'm like, Prongs has called me 10 times. We're supposed to be at the airport in an hour. Where are you? And he's like, hey, where are we? And I said, give that person a phone. So he hands the phone over, and I'm like, hey, listen, this is life or death. Because we had asked Mr. Homer to back the flight up because we were flying to Tampa. I mean, it would only make sense. Like, my God, but you play in the gold medal game. But anyway, Prongs he's calling me, he's yelling at me. I feel like my dad's on the phone with me yelling at me. And so Richie gets back. I said, 911, get this man in a cab. I got to meet him. He gets back. I'm like, did you pack? No, not yet. And then I'm like, where's your gold medal? My mom's got it. Okay. All right. So anyway, the funny part is, Riles, of course, I was shitting my pants because I did not want us to be late. One, because of the Beast, Prongs, but Homer too. Homer was adamant about us not being late. So we get to the plane. We actually, Chemo waited on us and let us jump in his big van. Yeah. We get there, no Prongs.
No way.
So we're dying. It's like 10 after 7. And we're just like, me and Rick Bone are kind of laughing, and Chemo, he's so funny. He kept making little comments. So finally, Beast comes flying up in his limo or whatever. He's got the boys with him, his wife, and they get on the plane and they're jumping around thing. And me and Richie just want to go to bed. Richie's got the old iCar, whatever you call those things. But Prongs gets on, and I'm like, yo, Beast, what's up, man? We've been here like 45 minutes. He's like, this guy got fucking lost. He's losing it. If that would have been us, dude, they would have taken off. He would have taken off.
He would have left. For sure, he would have left.
Richie, you better get on the horn, get us a private PJ going here. But I thought that was so funny because Prongs ended up being late instead of us.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty good. Well, hey, Richie, I just want to wrap up before we'll touch this before we wrap up. But you're lining up in Washington, in I think 2016. Talk about that experience there in the playoffs, and then touch on playing with Ovi, because I'm always fascinated with this guy and what it was like to see this guy firsthand.
Yeah. It was either Washington or San Jose before I ended up joining Washington. So getting a chance to play with Ovi, like, how could you not take that opportunity? So obviously picked Washington, and right when I got there, everybody on the team was awesome. And then soon after joining, I realized how good Backstrom was. Like, obviously, like, playing against him all the time, and for years I knew, he knew he's a superstar, but then just seeing him every single day, like, you know how big of a superstar. Like if he had like a bigger personality, you know, he's a quiet guy. He's a lot similar to me actually, where it's just kind of does his thing at the rink and then goes home. But you know, he is just so good of a passer, and everything is just flat. Like I could literally sit for an hour and just watch him sauce pucks. But him and Ovi at the end of practice sometimes would like half wall and then Ovi's spot, and it would feed him just to practice on the one-timers for the power play. And every single time it would be Backstrom would just sauce it, you know, 2-3 feet in the air. It would land absolutely flat, and Ovi would just bar down. And like, literally every single time it was either bar down or literally like, I don't know, a foot by a foot in. And it was just clockwork. And that his shot, like I've seen that line they shoot when I went to Winnipeg and watch, and that's a bomb. But like, I mean, I'm not telling it or breaking any news here that Ovi can shoot the puck, but just like, you don't, in a game, you don't really see him like lean into one, you know, like it's always so quick and it's always a one-timer. But when he actually like puts his weight into a shot, it is at least probably 10 to 15, like a snapshot, 10 to 15 miles per hour harder than my slap shot. And it just like, to be a goalie would just be exhausting in practice. But
you're on Backstrom, correct me if I'm wrong, because you did get to play with him. I've seen him play a lot, and one of the things I like about he's sick. He's such a sick player, but he's got a nasty little edge to him too. Like he's not soft, you know.
No, he is not.
Like, he is not soft, man.
And when I was with Philly, he was only in the league, I think, for a few years when I was with Philly. So we didn't really have that much of a rivalry after, I think, the 1 year we played him in playoffs. But you always kind of think like quieter guys, not big, so you could always get it kind of under his skin. And then when you play with him, you see all the cheap shots he gives people. And he was my favorite, like, to watch and to be around. And the way he carried himself, he was always so professional. Loved to have a good time. He was just an unbelievable teammate and an even better hockey player. Right. And it'd be interesting to see like how one would do without the other one, you know, because like Backy's passing to Ovi, and then, you know, Ovi getting so many goals. If it's Backstrom, you know, like they're so perfect together. I don't know. They're just both incredible. And Backstrom just impressed me so much when I was there.
Hall and Oates.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Huh?
Back in the day.
Oates edition.
Yeah. And that's seriously like, you know, when, and we had a great team. Like Pittsburgh beat us that year. And I believe they went on to win the cup that year, but
that was 16, right? 2016?
Yeah, 16.
Yeah,
I think that was the first one of the back-to-backs. But I believe if we would have won, we had a 2-minute 5-on-3 in pit, and then they got another penalty. So I don't know exactly how it worked at this point, but we had like a long time 5-on-3, and we didn't score on that, and that we brought it to overtime, or we did score. We went to overtime, and then we lost in overtime. But I believe if we would have won that game, we would have won the series, and I'm pretty sure we would have won the cup. Like, that team was so sick.
Yeah, you guys were good, man.
Yeah,
but kind of smacked us around a little bit.
Yeah,
when we were, you guys were better than the Flyers that year. But I remember Steve Mason started that series. He had a tough go, and then they Michael Neuwirth came in, and he actually stoned you guys a couple games.
Yeah.
I thought, I was like, maybe they're scratching your head a little bit here, but you ended up winning game 6 in Philly, and Backstrom scored. I think you won 1-0, if I'm not mistaken. to win that series. But yeah, of course, as soon as we lost to you guys, I was hoping you were going to put that third Stanley Cup ring on your finger. But
we just had such a sick team, like that Johansson, who I never really
Oh yeah, that's right.
Too much before, just because playing on different conferences, you don't see them or you don't really pay attention to who's on the team when you play some guys. But he was just a really good player. Chimera, Williams, like guys that like guys. Actually, funny story about me and Chimera when we played you guys in Philly. We didn't really play that much, but we were on the fourth line together. And when we were in Philly, Trotz would always line match. So we'd always kind of get skipped sometimes if, we stayed out too long or, just the random occurrence of the bench. So me and Chimmer, I think we had one shift at the very beginning of the period and there was like 4 minutes left in the 4 minutes left in the period. So we haven't played for like 30 minutes real time, maybe even more. And we're both just like stewing on the bench. And Trotz comes up between me and Chimera. He sticks his head in between our shoulders. He's like, you guys are going really well. Just keep going. We both looked at him at the exact same time. How the fuck do you know we're going to walk it on the ice in 35 minutes? What the hell are you doing? And we both just like looked at each other and just bursted out laughing. And still one of the funniest like on bench moments I think I've ever had. Like, at the exact same time, cursing out Trotz, and Trotz just backed away, like, doo-doo-doo.
Did you squeeze it in for you or what?
Yeah, needless to say, we got back out there,
Thank God.
Oh, fucking God.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, we had a good team, though. It was fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Richie, I want to bring up this quick story. I don't know if you remember, but Richie was talking about earlier about Mr. Snyder used to give him tickets for basketball and stuff. So Richie took me the one night. Actually, Riles, you may have gone down the first half, and then I got to go to the second half. It was a playoff game, or maybe it was you and I, Richie, the whole time. It was against Orlando. And, you put me on the court. Like, I was, I don't care who was playing. I was just so excited and thankful to be there. But the Orlando Magic, they won the series that night. I think it was game 5 or 6. And they had this player, his nickname was Skip to Malou because he was in end one. His name was Rayford Austin. So I'm telling Richie, I'm like, dude, that's Ray Frost. That's Skip to Malou. And he's like, what? Skip to my what? And I'm like, Skip to my Lou, man. This guy's sick. I'm like, you don't understand. So it's like literally fourth quarter, 2.5 minutes ago, they're up 15 points. So we're sitting there and I'm like, Richie's, he's reserve guy. He's just sitting there. And I'm like, Skip, what's up, man? And Richie like kind of hits me like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, and he goes, what's up, man? Gives me a high five, and he's getting ready to inbound the ball. I said, come on, Skip, give me a little something. I'm like shaking like I want him to, make a couple moves with the ball because he was sick ball handler, right?
Yeah.
And he played Toronto, Rick Bone. He played it. He had a stint there. He played for a lot of teams. But anyway, Richie's like, man, don't bug him. He's playing. I'm like, they're up 15. There's 2 minutes to go. And Ray for Austin turns around to me. He goes, man, I got to secure the win. I can't be messing around. And I'm like, come on, Skip, do something, right? So they inbound the ball, nothing happens. End up with another inbound right beside us again. I said, come on, Skip, give me something. There's 30 seconds to go. So he inbounds the ball, gets it back, and he gave a quick little through his legs like 3 times. And Richie like up and goes, oh shit, that's like me. And everyone else in there is pissed off because the Sixers lost, and I'm like standing up, oh, Skip. And Richie was probably like, Nast, I'm never bringing you anywhere again.
It's the last game.
Yeah. I probably might be one of the last ones I got to go to. But I wanted to tell that because he always made me laugh because Richie goes, what are you doing, man? Don't bother him.
It's the same story I tell about you meeting Ron Artest. Is it Ron Artest?
Oh, yeah. That
like,
was Ron
Artest. And you're like, yeah, man. Or, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. He goes, we had gone into LA and we always had to practice at the Toyota Center.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, we take the gear. We had to hang it in the King's room to dry, and then we had to move it in the morning. So I'm just in there by myself. All of a sudden, the door swings open. I guess it came from your bathroom lounge area, or that way from behind where the TV was. Anyway, I look up as I'm unpacking bags, and it's Ron Artest is standing there, Meta World Peace. But he was Ron Artest at that time. And I said, oh, shit, Ron Artest. He goes, hey, man, that's me, Ron Artest. I started dying laughing. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know. It was so funny. And then he stood there and talked to me for like 10 minutes. It was unbelievable.
That kills me every time. Yeah, it's me.
Yeah, man, it's me, Ron Artest. He said his name.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Richie, we appreciate your time, man. This has been a blast. Probably a little longer than you'd carved out time for, but we really, really do appreciate talking with you, seeing you again, and for sharing some of these stories. It's been awesome.
Yeah, all good, boys. Anytime. Big fan.
This I had to say this too. This is not a Joey Mullen bobblehead. This is Elvie's favorite bobblehead, but I got to tell you a funny story. So a few years ago, he was so confused because it says Rangers. He's like, Daddy, when did Rick Bowen play for the Rangers? I'm like, no, it's a junior team. It's not the New York Rangers. Yeah, but he's got a Rangers uniform on. I'm like, buddy, it's junior and nothing's wrong with his neck. We just kept that protected. I think you actually shipped it to me like that, so it didn't. That's Elvie's favorite.
Yeah,
that's Elvie's favorite. But seriously, Richie, we can't thank you enough, man. Like, obviously, you're a good buddy and my favorite players ever. So we really do appreciate you. And also, you're married over the past year. Your beautiful wife. I appreciate she wore my swag. I haven't posted it yet. But she is, I had all you guys wearing it, but I got to say, she made that stuff look way better than the other guys did, but I do appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Like Kevin Connolly says, I outkicked my coverage.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's all right, man.
Oh, good.
All right.
All right. That interview was brought to you by Settlemyre Skate Sharpening. For all your hockey needs and the best skate sharpening in town, visit settlemyreskateSharpening.com, and Body Check Wellness for all your CBD and medicinal mushroom needs. Visit bodycheckwellness.com. Want to say a huge thanks to Mike Richards for joining us for this marathon of a podcast. It was awesome. Some really great stories. Always good to see Richie again and seeing him smiling and having a good time. So it was really an awesome opportunity to talk with Richie.
It was. I felt like we could have just kept going too. There's a few things that we wanted to bring up and I almost forgot what we were doing here. It was just fun catching up and talking. But you're right, a bit of a marathon, but what a great listen, man. It was awesome to, like you said, seeing him happy and smiling, and man, he's done it all. Like we said in the episode there, he's a winner. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's the truth. And I always think of Richie as like an ultimate leader, like he's just like, I just look back on my career and, just watching Richie and how much he poured into it. And, and the fact that he's won at every level, it's not by accident, what I mean? There's something special about him. And, he's just one of those guys that just, he just like almost defines hockey, in his era. I just think of like, I almost call him the modern day Bobby Clarke when he played, right? I mean, he kind of did it all, and he just worked his bag off on the ice and gave it all. So, I'd love to hear stories about, his thinking and his mindset and the storyline too. There's a lot of stuff I actually learned today that I didn't know about, especially his early hockey career in Kenora and kind of how he landed up in the OHL. But certainly, when you think of a true overall well-rounded character hockey player, you think of Mike Richards.
100%. Like you said, I think you said like he's a captain. Like it's just in him. Like there's no way you don't name that guy your captain when he's on your team. Obviously a little different when he got a little older and went into it to other teams that had captains, but I think that was a great choice when he was here. He's the only player that played in a series where he was down 0-3 and came back and won. He did it with us in Philly, and then he did it in LA. Right. Kartsy would be involved in that, but he didn't play against Boston because he was hurt.
That's
when
right.
we played, people forget he was out with a broken foot. But yeah, like Richie he's a hockey player. That's the bottom line. And he was just an awesome guy too, which makes it even better. And it was awesome talking to him and hearing some of the things I didn't know either. It was kind of neat to hear. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah. It's nice to see him doing well in life and just enjoying life. You talked about the pressures of, obviously playing at a high level, but the pressures of being a captain in a big market and the whole bit. But, he's living the life, he's enjoying life the way it's supposed to be. And, I love to see him smiling and laughing like that. So it makes me, it makes me feel good because, the way it kind of ended for him, wasn't exactly the way most people would anticipated, but nonetheless, life is a grind and the game is a grind. You play that hard, man. It's a grind, it's a grind.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see a smile on his face, him doing well, enjoying what he loves to do, fishing and, and spending time with his wife. So, I mean, man,
it's a career. Great, man. Oh, it is. It's nice to see him. You can tell he's happy, that's awesome. He's just such a good dude. He deserves it. He was great to all of us and how good he was to me and personally, and still is, and things happened with me about a year ago now. He may have been the first person that called me right away and, was looking to help me any way he could, so I love the guy and he's awesome, man. It was great having him on. We got to have him on again because we forgot a few things.
Yeah, I know.
Which I mean, there's so many things involved with his career, so many good things, but we'll get him in the studio for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we definitely missed a few things. Obviously, some of our conversation branched off into things we hadn't planned, which is always a great thing. But he's already offered to come back on. Would love to have him back on. I think next time we get him in the studio, get him at your pad there. So it was awesome. Again, reconnecting with Richie. I haven't talked to him for a little while. But again, revisiting some of that storyline, his time in Philly, just the smile on his face, especially when he tells stories. That was awesome. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps up episode 8 of Nasty Knuckles. Tune in next week. We'll have an amazing guest once again. Appreciate you all. Have a great week, Knuckleheads.
Have a great week, Knuckleheads. See you guys. See you, Riggs.
See you, buddy.